Millsap in the morning. Millsap's on the town's awake. Downtown Lebanon starts to shake. From Ozark Fiber Studios, bright and warm, he's bringing in the brand.
Well, I don't know about you, but I needed that theme song to get me going.
That's right.
This morning. It's Millsap in the morning. On this, the 5th day of August, we are back in not our normal studios. We're actually back where we finished last night at about 10 o'clock. People probably think that we stayed here. Taylor Howe's with me as he was last night. A long night with the election last night, but I thought a lot of fun.
Oh, I had a blast. Election night's always a fun time. We got to bring you a lot of good results last night, a lot of interesting races that were fun to watch, some changes across the state that we're going to talk about today. But like all election nights, some interesting stuff.
In the Ozark Fiber Studios. And by the way, if you're interested in dropping a comment, we'd be glad to listen to those comments. And coffee by Jude's, as usual, here with Millsap in the morning. And we're going to need a lot of coffee. It was a late night, and it took a while to decide some of the races. Some of the races were really decided early in this contest, and we're going to kind of review things and talk about some of those. And the show today gives us, I guess, that ability to kind of relax and try to analyze it, though we didn't have a lot of time to really sit back and I think tear down the numbers a bit. Let's start with, I thought, amendments 4 and 5. 5 went the way I thought it would. Maybe a little larger victory for 5 than anticipated. 4 I wasn't sure about, but it got defeated pretty easily, and the numbers kind of speak for themselves.
Yeah, I think that the anti-4 folks were smart to latch themselves to 5 and make those 2 issues 1. And the numbers kind of parse that out to where the people really connected those 2 things as well. A sound defeat across the state, unambiguous result. Jeff City, with those issues still being there, now have to kind of go back to square one and say how they'd like to tackle this, because the people have said, this ain't it.
You know, and I may have mentioned this last night, but I thought about it more this morning. Governor Kehoe really backed both of those amendments. And I wonder how the Democrats now perceive that as, you know, is that going to be fodder to use in the next governor's race here in a year of we've got an opportunity to see that why popular, he did back 2 amendments that were soundly defeated. I wonder what their mindset today is.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to be in some of those rooms to hear what their conversation is, because, you know, as we talked about last night, these are issues that have been prevalent for a long time. They're not surprises. And so the Democrats do have an opportunity to bring a unique perspective to both things and say, we've trusted the Republicans to bring us answers on this. They brought us something that even Republicans across the state rejected. So let's come up with our own answer and put that out to the people. Honestly, with the standing that the Democrats have in the state right now, there's not a whole lot to lose, and there's quite a bit to gain.
They got to find something to grasp on, right? And even in Leclerc County last night, 80% of the people that voted in the race last night, and we had a turnout of about 28% of those that are registered to vote. So that's a pretty high turnout for a primary race. 80% voted Republican. That's not unusual in Leclerc County. It's not unusual also the fact that the only contested races were on the Republican side. So you do have some Democrats that leak over to vote. But they've got to find something to grasp onto, and I would just wonder how that will play out. But, you know, a lot of work now for those that will go on to November. As you said last night, and that I thought was so poignant, is you don't get a job, but you could lose a job, and certainly that happened last night. In a couple of instances that people lost their job last night, and one being Curtis Trent, who well, that doesn't affect Lebanon directly, but it does lead to some discussion about what will happen up in Jeff City, because he was really scheduled to be the majority leader on the floor. Now, all of a sudden, somebody else is going to have to step forward.
Yeah, what is the state of Jeff City going to look like over the next couple of years as those mix-up or shake-ups are taking place. A similar deal for the Senate seat where they're replacing Senator Crawford, right? You have Dr. Alexander, who's replacing who will most likely replace Senator Crawford, but beating out Brad Pollitt, who's a state representative. And so Brad Pollitt not necessarily losing that job last night, but losing his elected seat in government. There's going to be shifts. Like I said last night, this is now the trajectory of the history of the state of Missouri, and it's going to be very different than the trajectory as it was 2 days ago.
As we kind of drill down on numbers and all those things and kind of look at this election, the thing that we talked about yesterday as we did the election coverage was the Senate 16 race, all the negative things that came out in those flyers, and how much of an impact that has. And I thought you brought up a good point last night, that the fact that a lot of that most of that is driven by the PACs that will support a candidate. And often we don't know how much the candidate knows about what's going to come out. And as you put it, they don't have the ability to really sit down and discuss that with the PACs. I just wonder the impact of that in these races, and we'll drill down the numbers in a minute. But, people seem to be so turned off about that. And I used the analogy last night. It's like driving by a car wreck. You don't want to look, but you look. Yeah. And it's almost like the same thing with the negative ads, and people say they're tired of it. But that, the people that know politics and know how to run politics, they must know that it works.
Yeah, and even beyond it being a little bit like a car wreck, it's forced in your face, right? You got to check your mailbox every day. Yeah. Or even like we talked about last night, whenever it's on your social media algorithm, whenever it's directly texted to you, these aren't just things that are being put out there. They are things that are being forced in front of you. One of the most interesting, talking about the numbers, the most interesting number to me last night was the Secretary of State hit it dead on. Yeah. They were predicting 1.4 million votes, and we see on 4 and 5 that that's about the exact number of votes that were cast last night. And so high turnout, again, giving us some unambiguous results, not just because of the margin, but because so many of the people actually came out and spoke.
And I think that obviously driven by 4 and 5. And people just really worried about that, especially 5, I think. The fact that they didn't know where that was going to go. I think those in the legislature probably learned a lesson that people are not going to just say, hey, listen, we're going to leave it up to you. Even though that's why we vote for people to go to Jefferson City, that you're going to represent our interest. What I hate to see, though, and we may have seen this somewhat, is that if I support the idea of sending it to the voters, doesn't mean I support the idea. Right. And to be punished for that, I think we have to be very careful as voters to look at, hey, they gave me the opportunity, and that's what we often ask for.
Yeah. Even kind of going back to those attack ads, right? So-and-so voted for the puppy kicking bill. Sometimes those are procedural votes to take something to the floor, and sometimes you vote that way because you know that it will die on the floor. Like you're saying, taking it to the people doesn't mean that you support it. It just means this is a big enough issue that I believe as a state representative or as a state senator that the people need to weigh in on this directly. There's few things that reach that bar because, again, we're not a direct democracy. We are in a system where we elect people to make those types of decisions for us, but there are those issues that rise to the level of the people need to speak to this directly, and whatever they say as a representative or a senator is fine with me.
I think our political science professor back when I was in college, which was a long time ago, but make the comment that we elect people not to vote the way I would want to vote. I want somebody who will vote for the best interest of the people, meaning that I may see an issue and not fully understand it, or see an issue in which I'm just wrong, that we need people that are there that looks at it as a whole. How does this impact the whole, not just one person?
Yeah, there's a British legislator named Edmund Burke, and his line on that was, I don't owe the people my vote, I owe them my judgment. Now, it's important to point out he lost the race in which he said that. But I do think that it brings something important to mind, which is our legislators do go up there. They do spend a lot of time learning about these things. They learn about it, or they get information that maybe they don't bring back, maybe they can't bring back. And anybody who sat on any sort of board or committee knows there is some information that is privileged, but that weighs very heavily on the decision that you make. And for me, David, that's where I focus so much on. I like the idea, and maybe it's naive or juvenile, but vote for people who you trust their character, to where they will get the information and they will do something that you may disagree with, but you know the person behind that decision.
And the other thing, and I can't remember if it was Jeff Nye, it might have been Sandy Crawford that's made a comment one time that don't judge the state senator, the state representative that you send to Jeff City on one vote. Sure. That look at the total package that they've worked at. And sometimes we get so focused on, well, they didn't support this and I was really for that. So I'm going to forget the entire body of work that they've done. And I think, we owe it to them. And I think that often, and it seems more today than it has been in the past, that we often think in terms of what they owe us. Mm-hmm. We owe them, I think, some respect as to their decision-making ability if we voted to send them there.
Yeah, I think that's right. Like we've talked about last night, they did put themselves out there. We did elect them. And so at some point we have to say, you are the leader that we chose. And so we're going to follow behind, even if this step or that step isn't the exact move that we would make. And then, like you said, judge the whole body of work and say 80% of the time, 85, 90% of the time, I really did agree with the steps that we took. And that gives me the grace on that other 5, 10, 15% that I disagree with to still allow you to lead.
There are emerging issues that are coming up over the next couple of years. I'm sure that the folks in Jeff City are going to have to answer. There's going to be emerging issues that I think local government will have to answer as well. We're going to break down the races from last night in District 16 and also in District 142, and we'll do that when we come back here on Millsap in the Morning on this Wednesday.
Millsap in the morning.
The 229 Project, Boattown Brewing and Love Now presents Comedy Night at Boattown Brewing August 13th at 7 p.m.
Some guy jumped in this lady's car, and the Chick-fil-A employee goes out there, hooks him over the shoulder onto the ground, right? And so people send that stuff to me, and they go, hey, what do you think about that? So I'll tell you what I think about that. I said, I think that's the only kid at the location that wasn't homeschooled. You know what I'm talking about? I saw that hook, right? That's a public school takedown. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, he's seen some stuff. He might have done time at Popeyes. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Jaron Myers takes the stage in a fundraiser for Lebanon, Missouri, Main Street. Tickets are $30 pre-sale and $40 at the door. This will be a fundraiser for Lebanon, Missouri, Main Street.
Injured on the job? Call Dan the Man. Hiring the wrong attorney could cost you everything. Don't risk your future. Call Dan the Man at Deputy and Mizell.
Well, we started AAA Plumbing in 2024 in Lebanon. I was born and raised here. We wanted to provide an experience with plumbing like nobody had ever seen. Our motto is to set the standard, and we truly believe we do that with the customer. We take care of jobs from start to finish, and we're not looking for a one and done. We want repeat customers. We also set out with the goal to provide good paying trade jobs for local people here in Lebanon, somewhere they'd be proud to work and be able to make a living and provide for their family.
Millsap in the morning. Millsap's on the town's away. Downtown Lebanon.
And now is giving away 2 tickets to that, was it Jaron Myers comedy show that's coming up. So if you're interested in it, he sounds like a funny guy.
Yeah, I've heard some of his stuff before, just again through my algorithm. He's very funny.
And full family friendly as well, just like Millsap in the morning.
That's right.
So, we are family friendly. Let's talk about some of the local races that we watched last night. District 142 really went the way that I thought it would. Mm-hmm. Dr. Jeff Brown wins that race. He got 85% of the vote in Leclerc County. I didn't look what he got in Dallas County. He won huge over in the Camden County part of that district. He goes on in November to take on Josh Ray. I thought when you look at that race, the final 4,531, 1,120 for Royce Tuck. Again, a huge victory for Dr. Jeff Brown to replace Jeff Knight, who's term limited out. Mm-hmm. I thought he ran a really good campaign, solid campaign, was out meeting people, talking to people, worked tirelessly, really out and about, and that's what it takes to win those races.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody just about Jeff Brown, and they said he's as a psychologist, a trained listener, and so he's gone out, and it's not been in the kind of politician way of, well, what do you think about this issue? It's more of, I actually do want to gather this information. I want to find out where the people are on 4 and 5. I want to find out what the people want in a representative in Jefferson City. And I think that that's been reflected. The people feel like they've been listened to, like they've been met. And like I said, the results kind of speak for themselves.
And I thought what was interesting, and I had the same perspective of him, was that I would watch him in crowd and actively listening, interested in people. And again, that's part of his training, I'm sure, part of his personality as well. Yeah. Because I've dealt with people, and certainly in the political arena, where they act like they're interested in meeting you and they're checking their watch, or they're having an aide wanting to pull them away and all those types of things. But he seems totally engaged. The other thing about running for office is that it's almost a 24/7 deal, and we saw that out of him out and about different places, took time to go to local manufacturing plants, tour them, got the endorsement of the Cattlemen's Association, got the endorsement of several law enforcement officers, retired officers, as well as Missouri Sheriffs United. He really, I thought, checked all the boxes for a candidate, especially for somebody that has not been in the political arena as a candidate before.
Mm-hmm. To your point on listening, some politicians are letting you talk, and they're thinking about what they actually want to talk about next. And that wasn't what we saw from Jeff. We saw him actually trying to figure out what exactly the district was saying and what they want in someone who's moving forward. But that's really what it takes, David. It takes going out, listening, and being in front of the voters. If I have an opinion about something going on that needs to change in Jeff City, I want to be able to speak to my state representative or my state senator about that issue. And the only way to do that is to either have their personal phone number or to see them out and about. And so people respond to that. They like seeing these people out and about, and they reward those candidates for it.
So now he moves on to face Josh Ray. He was unopposed, a Democrat candidate, former mayor of Lebanon, had a very short tenure as the mayor of Lebanon, ended up resigning. But it's going to be an uphill battle for a Democrat in this area to try to get up that hill and over the top. The one thing that you see out of Melissa Schmidt, who also will have an opponent in that representative race in 141, Mike Swafford out of Mountain Grove, tireless people out on the campaign trail. And even though historically I can't think of a time that Leclerc County sent a Democrat to represent them in Jefferson City, and when I talk about Leclerc County, Dallas County, and that part of Camden County, same thing with Wright County, Leclerc County, Webster, and part of Douglas County, I think is Melissa's area. Uphill battle, but you can't take it for granted.
No, not at all. Especially, again, if not that I'm being paid to give advice to candidates, but if Josh Ray goes out, does the work, listens to voters in the same way, I truly do believe the voters respond to a candidate who is out there and paying attention. So if Josh Ray can do that, if he'll go out and engage with the people, you're right. It's definitely going to be an uphill battle, historically speaking, but it's not something that can't be overcome probably over a couple of election cycles. I don't see that just automatically flipping. But, politics takes time.
So let's talk about the Senate race in District 16. That was the race that kept us here all night long.
Yeah.
We went into, to use a sport analogy, almost into overtime in that race. Bill Hardwick ended up with 11,030 votes. Hannah Kelly ended up with 7,865, and Don Mayhew with 5,059, and then 1,034 for Philip Lohman. That race was interesting to watch last night because it kept changing, kept flipping. There was a time that Hardwick had a lead, and then all of a sudden Kelly had a lead. We saw Mayhew with a little bit of a surge at one point. An interesting race. A lot of money poured into that race. We kind of talked about the Flyers, but a lot of media ads were out there. That was a contentious race.
It was. Something that I think is interesting as well, kind of comparing it to that Alexander Pollitt race, the Senate District 16 race with Philip Lohman, you mentioned last night he garnered more votes than you might have thought, but he still did not play the fly in the ointment, right? The margin between Hardwick and Kelly was still wide enough that no one's existence in that race who came third or fourth spoiled that for Hannah Kelly. So, I mean, all credit to Bill Hardwick for going out there and pounding the pavement. It was a fascinating one to watch. I think when we look at it county by county, those results are also very interesting. They show where the candidates put in a lot of time, gained a lot of traction, again, just a very interesting story to be told through those numbers.
And Hardwick lost here in Leclerc County, but the percentage was this. Kelly won Leclerc County with 37.64% of the vote. Hardwick had 37.42% of the vote. So Leclerc County really did make a difference in that county, or in that race. Probably not. I thought it would be the county that probably would put somebody over the top. Don't know that it was. I do find it somewhat interesting over in Wright County. Kelly got 60% of the vote, which she's from Wright County, small county. I think there's 18,000 residents in Wright County. Small county, well-known, former state rep there, got 60% of the vote. Hardwick only got 30%, but he got 1,255 votes. Hannah got 2,538 in her own county. She got 60% of the vote. Here's what I thought of Susie Pollock. When she ran for Senate, got 60% of the vote in Leclerc County. It's almost telling me that if you're going to run for state Senate in this multiple state race, in your home county, you've got to get more than 60% of the vote.
Yeah, absolutely. You really have to shore up what, I guess, this may be a little bit cynical, but the guaranteed votes, right? Or the votes that should come a little bit easier should be from the people who know you best. And if that's not true, then maybe don't run.
Right.
Right? If your own home is going to soundly reject you, then don't go out asking for strangers to consider you. But yeah, you have to shore up that base because that's also going to be a volunteer base that helps you with door knocking, that's going to help you with fundraising. Those are the people who should be supporters not just on election day, but leading up to election day. And so Hannah was able to do that. Like you said, Susie Pollock was really able to do that, but you have to do that in a major way if you want to come out victorious in a multi-county election.
Typically, if you get 60% of the vote, you're very happy about that. That's a huge margin. But we're starting to see this trend that, you're going to probably have to at least carry more of that in your home county. Now, I say that in Pulaski County, Hardwick wins that county, but he's running against his neighbor in Don Mayhew. Mm-hmm. And so Hannah Kelly did not do well in Pulaski County. She only got 527 votes. Hardwick had 2,883. Mayhew had 1,317. Kelly's demise really ended up being in Pulaski County, and we saw that kind of trending last night as we got there. And then she finished in third place as well in Phelps County.
Well, and that goes to what you said last night of you don't, in your opponent's home county, you don't have to have a showing where you come out on top, but you do have to still put together a respectable showing where you come in a well-placed third or even a second place. There's a lot of math, a lot of numbers, and a lot of moving parts to where you have to land. And just because it is your opponent's home county, like you said, you need to win 60% in Laclede County. Well, 40% of Laclede County is still a lot of votes at the end of the day. And so well-placed second and third finishes can put you over the top, or if you don't do that, can be, like you said, the demise.
We will wrap all this up when we come back with more Millsap in the Morning on this Wednesday on Lebanon Now.
Millsap in the morning. Millsap's on the town's awake.
I'm Jeremy Goforth.
And I'm Holly Goforth, and we're with Legacy Homes. So this house sits in Legacy Trails. This is a 68-acre subdivision that sits right next to Ashley Park. Approximately 127 lots that we will be building on. What's unique about this subdivision is that we're connecting Ashley Park's trails into our subdivision that will go through our subdivision and connect back to the park.
The Legacy Trails, we have all kinds of homes. The minimum is 1,500 square foot, high efficiency, new construction homes. If you're interested in this house or any other home in Legacy Trails, we have 10 house plans available. Contact Legacy Homes at
417-718-1962 or 417-718-2051, and don't forget to look us up on Facebook.
Have you been hurt? Call Dan the Man. Calling the wrong attorney could cost you everything. Don't risk your future. Call Dan the Man at Deputy and Mizell.
Planning a party, we've got the spark. Tables and tents right where you start. Need chairs for the crew, need shade for the day. We bring the fun and make it all stay. Scott Event Rentals, make it easy, make it bright. Scott Event Rentals, for your perfect party night. Scott Event Rentals, set it up and smile. Scott Event Rentals, we make celebrations shine. Scott Event Rentals, yeah, that's the way. Scott Event Rentals, for your special day.
Millsap in the morning. Millsap's on the town.
Yeah, I think that, again, the people gave us an unambiguous result statewide, here locally. The races were not particularly close, and so the people spoke very soundly, very passionately in the direction that they did. They're also, you know, we talked about 4 and 5 being so linked, but 2 was a flip of 4 and 5 as far as the results are concerned. The city transportation tax passes, the conservation tax passes. And so the people also showed us last night that even with unambiguous results, the people of Missouri are nuanced, right? They take each issue as it comes to them. And really every election, everybody goes into it really nervous, and the people always seem to come out on top. They bring us good results that show that this nation, this state, and this county are still very much a responsible electorate that take these issues seriously, that want to make sure that their voices are heard, but then take that responsibility as they should.
I want to give you one more last word because I want to kind of prime the pump a little bit of, and you're big on the idea and the thought process behind emerging issues. Mm-hmm. What do you see as the emerging issues that'll be taken to Jeff City now?
Well, they're still going to have to deal with the problems that 4 and 5 were not able to address last night. We're going to have to figure out how to increase the revenues for this state if we want the programs that the state is currently offering. If you're running out of money but you want to keep working the way that you are, you got to find a new way to get some money in. And then again, with initiative petition reform, I said earlier, we're not a direct democracy. 51% of the people can't decide to pee in the Cheerios of 49% of the people. And right now, with the way things get put on the ballot, it takes a very small number of people to put an issue in front of the state. Like I said, the voters have shown themselves to be trustworthy with that over and over again, but it gunks up the system, right? I think I said last night there were potentially 25 different amendments that have been put forward for this election cycle. That's a lot. And that, like I said, that slows the churn, and again, it gives the potential for confusion. And so initiative petition reform is still a valuable issue to take on and say, we've got to figure out something to make everything work just a little bit smoother, so as not to grind things to a halt because 50,000 people think that we really need a statewide ballot initiative on something ridiculous.
And we'll see where that goes. The other two emerging issues that I think that's going to garner some focus and just say, number one is going to be the budget. That's and of course that's the focus pretty much every year. The budget such is the one thing that every year is going to garner a lot of focus by the legislature. But there's going to be major cuts, or there has to be another revenue stream. But as Scott Fitzpatrick said, and the auditor who won last night on the Republican ticket, he'll have an opponent in November. The system is broken, so it's going to have to be fixed. The other thing is the data center issue, which really played big in all the local elections here, whether it was for presiding commissioner or if it was for state representative or state senate. Everybody had to discuss that, the data centers. The other thing that I see coming up now is going to be these flock cameras, and we hear the pros and cons of all of that. I have, and I will later discuss in some other shows where I fall on that, but which ironically won't be surprised it'll be on the issue of falling on the side of law enforcement and the purpose and the use of those things. But those are things I think that the legislators are going to have to be dealing with as well.
Yeah, whether it's initiative petition, budget, flock cameras, the people have to be trustworthy, and our leaders have to show themselves to be trustworthy. So everything boils down to being able to trust each other to run our state together.
So I told Ryan Shear last night as we were leaving, and we were talking about Millsap in the morning, is don't book me any politicians for the next month and a half. So we're going to have shows coming up in the month of August. I know Brian Thompson's going to be here at some point in the month of August. Ashley Mahan is going to be with us during this month, and some other guests and stuff. And we'll have Taylor back from time to time as well as Millsap in the morning. I thought you did a great job, by the way.
Thanks.
Treading through all this, analyzing this. As I told him, I'll be the play-by-play guy, and you be the guy that breaks it down like John Madden.
Well, no one's ever accused me of not being able to keep talking. So it's a gift and a curse. But whenever you're on the air for 3 hours, we'll call it a gift.
It was a gift last night. Well, that wraps up Millsap in the morning. I remind you, we'll be back here next Wednesday with Millsap in the morning. Stay tuned to 11 and Now for all the programming they have right here on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Spotify. Until next Wednesday, I'm David Millsap. So long, everybody.
Millsap in the morning. Millsap's on the town's